Welcome to Wealth Think Tank Television. I'm your host, Dr. Ralph Steele, and we got a great show for you today. Great personality, an amazing person. But before we go to our special honored guest today, folks, I just want to tell you what we do. We do estate planning and trust. And if you need a will, you need a power of attorney. But if you need to roll over your 401k, if you need to do and invest in an annuity, and let me tell you, especially an annuity 10 for life, because that's what it means. You'll get money for the rest of your life and you won't lose anything. We have whole life insurance. We have the Roth IRA. We got a lot of things that we can help you get where you need to go. And by the way, I have a special book today that I'm just happen to be the author, is How to Acquire and Keep Wealth by yours truly, Dr. Ralph Steele. A lot of people acquire wealth and it goes right through their hands, but they don't know how to keep it. And so my job is to help you keep it so you won't lose it. It's a sad thing to lose all your money, isn't it? Especially when you work hard, sweat, blood, and tears, and you lose it. You want to be able to spend some, keep some, enjoy some, and live happy ever after in the American dream. But guess what? We have a special guest today, friend of mine, a guy that I admire. I would probably even put my life on the line for him. This gentleman served in the Marine. You know how they say it? Once a Marine, always a Marine.
That's right.
Just as tough as he can get, smart as he can get. And I'm telling y'all, television audience, this is a great guy. I want to introduce to some and just let others know, because you already know who he is, Mr. Miles Jackson. And I'm telling you, this is a great guy. Mr. Jackson, welcome to Wealth Think Tank Television.
Thank you, Dr. Steele, for having me in here today. It's going to be a good show. And you're all right. We've had some really good conversations in the last couple years, and I appreciate you having me out here today to talk about what I do. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, as you talk about doing estates, a lot of what I do involves estates.
Wow.
And, it's pretty interesting. So, once again, appreciate you having me on the show.
Let's do this here.
Okay.
Tell our television audience, who is Myers Jackson?
Well, I started out in a little small town, and I'm not going to go into it. And back a long time ago, Dr. Steele, I was like, what am I going to do with my life?
Right.
How's things going to go along, and what's going to be my career? But one day, I listened to some auctioneers.
Right.
And I said, you know what? I'm going to be an auctioneer. And I started my career as an auctioneer 22 years ago. I was already a real estate broker.
Absolutely.
And 1998, I had my broker's license, but I really didn't like showing homes like the typical real estate agent, the regular path that a real estate agent takes. And I am a realtor. I have the designation, but now back in the year 2000, I included auctioneer in what I do. I become an accredited auctioneer of real estate.
Wow.
So I'm licensed in about 15 states.
That's a lot of states.
That's a lot of states. It's a headache keeping up with those licenses, but it's worth it because, number one, we get to travel a little bit. We get to meet really, really good people, and we get to help them position their real estate if they're looking to sell. Or sometimes we work with the states in the situation they may need to reallocate some money or do some dispose their money in some other way. So anyhow, I'm an auctioneer, and that's what I do. People ask me if I talk fast. Yes, sir, I can talk fast. I can talk slow. But the auctioneering business is much more than just talking fast.
Right. The auctioneer's business has a core of negotiating and negotiating not to the lowest bidder, but negotiating, if I'm correct, to the highest bidder.
Well, and you're exactly right, Dr. Steele, and we work on both ends of the spectrum because we have to understand where that low bid is coming from in order to make the highest bid happen. I want to tell you what, people look at auctioneering, and you're the money man, right? You're the money man.
Well, I'm not going to deny that.
Well, the auctioneering business is a $6 billion business.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money. And a lot of people don't understand that auctioneers are involved in a lot of different type assets. Anybody here like those king crab legs?
Yes.
That's a yes. So somewhere today in Alaska, there's probably an auction going on for those king crabs that's coming in off the boat.
Wow.
And that's how they sell them. You name it, horses, cattle. A lot of people think about auctioneers when you think about cars, automobiles, horses, cattle. However, they don't know that there are some great real estate auctioneers out there. And so that's where I come in, is because I wanted to be that real estate auctioneer, and I wanted to do things different. It requires a real estate broker's license, and it also requires an auctioneer's license. So I have a combined set of licenses.
I have to have two.
I got to have two of them to do what I do. So some states, they're a little bit different on the rules, but here in Texas, you have to have an auctioneer's license, and you can sell real estate at auction, but a real estate agent. And this is you have to look at the difference in these rules. Now, a real estate agent can sell real estate. Right. An auctioneer can call the bids, or they can ask for that highest bidder in real estate, but the real estate agent can't unless they have an auctioneer's license.
Wow. So that's why you had to have that combination.
You got that combination, now you can do a lot more with it.
But tell me this here. What is one of the best auction that you have had, real estate there is, and was fun, but you also was blessed financially with it?
Well, I want to tell you what, I'm going to go back to an auction that I happened to be in charge of in Florida. Horse capital of the world, Ocala, Florida. Now,
I know
the
Ocala.
folks in Lexington may differ with that, but however, you talk to the folks in Ocala, and they're the king down there, right? So I sold a peanut farm in Florida.
Wow.
And it wasn't so funny now, but I'm going to tell you, we're going to get into a little bit of persistence and paying attention.
Right.
So I talked to this lady. She says, you know what, I want to sell my property with you guys because they didn't want to do it traditional real estate way. Right. Okay? I talked to her about how we structure our fees and how, now a lot of people think this is odd, Dr. Steele, but the buyers pay the auctioneer's commission.
Wow.
Okay? So the sellers, we may have some arrangement with the seller. They may pay a small part of it. Right. But the buyers pay what they refer to as a buyer's premium. Right. So I talked to this lady about this, and she says, man. And she says, well, what's my part? Well, this lady actually paid the expenses of the sale, the marketing and the advertisement. Now, she figured that up really, really quick. Now, what was her number one goal? Her number one goal was to put as much money in the bank as she possibly could. Wow. So if you attach a real estate commission to a real estate sale, all you got to do is do the math, and all of a sudden, she was looking at 865 acres times $10,000 an acre. Now, it doesn't take long to figure out how many dollars worth of volume that is.
That's a lot of money.
Now, a traditional real estate agent is going to say, we're going to charge you X number % on the sales price. Right. Okay? The auctioneer is going to do the same thing, but who pays for it? The buyer is going to pay for it. So long story short, we probably had, I don't know, we done it right out in the middle of the peanut field. We set up a tent. We invited everybody out. We had split 800 acres up into multiple tracts. We probably had 25 or 30 different tracts of land. So you can bid on an individual tract, you can bid on a combination of tracts, or you can buy the whole thing. Right. So as an auctioneer, I've got the ability to do that.
Because you have those two licenses.
I've got those two licenses, but an auctioneer has that. They may have two mentalities. Let's call it that. So we got that. We look at these. We look at selling a tract of land, or we look at selling a house in a different capacity, and we become marketers. But anyhow, we had all these people out here, Dr. Steele. Had all these people from all over the place that wanted a piece of this property in Marion County, Florida.
How many people were there that day?
We had somewhere between 400 or 500 people.
That's a lot of folks.
It was a lot of folks. Now, a lot of them wanted to spectate. Right. And that's okay. We like spectators. We want people to come out. but we had a great group of buyers. Now, this is where this thing got fun, Dr. Steele. All right, so we come in, we started off in individual tracks, and people bid on individual tracks, and then we started offering the combinations of tracks, and people says, wait a minute, this track over here went for X, and I can afford that, and this one. So they put X, Y, Z together, and all of a sudden it come what we like to see in the auction business, boy, it was a free-for-all.
Wow.
Because people were putting their hands in the air because they wanted a piece of that property. Now, what was fun for the seller, okay, is she's seen those dollar signs going up. Now, at the end of the day, we had sold about $8 million worth of peanut land.
Wow.
And this is where it become, and it wasn't so fun. Now, I was happy because you know what I was doing.
You're going to make some money.
I mean, I'm already calculating. You know what I was doing.
Yeah,
I was
exactly.
figuring. I mean, my figurator was working real good that day.
And that's a good thing, isn't it?
That was a great thing. But there was something happened between at the end, and everybody had left. Everybody had left the auction. And the seller and the buyer got into a little argument.
Wow.
Okay? And it was for a great reason, but the contract fell apart, Dr. Steele.
Oh, wow.
I seen my commission go right down the drain.
Wow.
I'm telling you what, I wasn't so happy that day. However, there's this word called persistence, tenacity. In the Marine Corps, we got a little bit of esprit de corps.
Right. I call that smart work.
Smart work. So because what I had to do is go back and do some smart work. And I was able to sell over $6 million of the property. Mm-hmm. It took me several weeks to do that, but I was able to put those contracts back together with 3 or 4 more people instead of selling it to one person. So at the end of the day, you're talking about made some money, and I'll tell you what I do. Now, this was fun. This was fun right here. I got my check, my commission check.
Right.
And I went down there and I looked at the bank teller and I slid it into the window and I said, "Can you cash that for me?" She looked at me, she said, "You want it in all hundreds?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." Now, you know why I done that, Dr. Steele?
Well, why? I'm curious.
I was young in my auction career.
Ah.
Okay? And I had tasted a little bit about what auctioneering was about. I wanted to make sure. Now, I had that check in my hand now.
Right.
Now, there was no joke about that. And I knew it, where it come from. It was good all day long.
And it didn't bounce.
It wasn't going to bounce. It hit that table, and it stayed right there because she took it, that bank teller took it, and she come back out with this little brown paper sack about that long.
Right.
And I took that up under my arm.
Cash money.
Man, I want to tell you what. And I went out and done that again, and I done it again, and I done it again. So the auctioneering business for me was good. But this is an important part I want your listeners to understand.
Right.
We're going to make some money, and that's what working is all about. We get up early every morning, and we go tackle the day.
That's right.
Is that what we're supposed to do?
That's what we're supposed to do.
That's what we're supposed to do.
That's the American dream.
That's exactly right. But what I was able to do for this particular seller was increase her bottom line when we sold that property.
That's
and
important.
Guess what? It happened to be an estate situation where her husband had died, and this was the money that she was going to live on for the rest of her life, or invest, or to carry on.
Exactly.
She had a smile on her face when we left that day because she was able to take that money and do other things. So that was very memorable in my career, Dr. Steele.
Well, I can imagine that because right in the grips of your hands and eyes, you were lost, but you were able to, you know what I'm saying, retreat, renegotiate, and close the deal.
That's exactly right. That word negotiation is powerful because every day we have to get up and negotiate. An auctioneer is the mediator, the negotiator, and we're looking at the price. You mentioned the high bid, low bid a while ago.
Correct.
Well, this is typically what I see across America. Okay, is buyers pretty much have the same mentality, and sellers have pretty much the same mentality. Why? Because the seller wants as much as they can possibly get, and the buyer wants to pay as low as they can get.
Exactly, less.
Now, that's their job.
Correct.
That's their job, is to go in there and try to buy it at a great deal for them. So the auctioneer comes in, and now we are the negotiator, and we happen to do it in a different fashion than what some people may see it, because they say the auctioneers can talk fast, okay? But so we could rapidly escalate those numbers, but we're looking for what auctioneers refer to as a market price sale.
Right.
what will the buy-in public be willing to pay?
Yeah.
What is the price structure that they're willing to pay under certain market conditions? Not a year from now,
I understand what
but
you're
right
saying.
now.
Right now.
Right now.
And I call that in the finance world what the market will bear.
That's exactly right.
And
What
whatever the
will bear.
market will bear, people are going to purchase it. They're going to spend that money, as you say.
That's
You
exactly
have some amazing items here today, and they both look good. Talk about your items here and how they relate to the job that you do as an auctioneer.
Great question, Dr. Steele. First of all, a lot of people think that auctioneers are the people who wear the cowboy hats.
Right.
Okay? Now, I wear my hat, and I put it on, and I like it.
It look good in that
I
hat.
look good in this hat.
Yeah.
But not all auctioneers
You might
wear
wanna
hats.
put that
Go ahead. Go ahead. See if it
Look at that.
See if it fits your haircut.
Man, does that look good. Man,
There you go.
Look at that, folks. Look at that, folks.
Got that good American hat up there.
Man.
Got that good
Wow.
crocodile hat band.
And this is a quality hat.
This is a good beaver hat. It's what they call a 500X, and it's a good quality hat. But a lot of auctioneers back in the day would wear the cowboy hat.
Right.
Okay. So a lot of people would look and say, okay, well, the auctioneers, you all wear cowboy hats. I'm going to tell you what. Some of the highest paid professionals, some of the best auctioneers in the world, which are friends of mine, they don't wear the cowboy hats. They wear business suits and ties from here to South Africa, you name it. They're around the world that's doing great business, selling not multi-million-dollar homes, Dr. Steele, but some of them are selling $25 and $30 million luxury homes.
Wow.
I got a friend in Scott Schumann up in Colorado. Now, when he sells a piece of land, he might sell. He might call somebody like me to sell 2 or 3 acres.
Right.
But Scott's selling 30 and 40,000 acres at the time.
Wow, that's a lot.
So, there's some great people in this industry. I belong to an organization called the National Auctioneers Association, and I have made some great friends that sell a lot of different items, but at the end of the day, they don't all wear the hat. Now, you want to talk about
But they're
this big-
professional, though.
They are professional. They are utmost professional. Remember what I said a while ago? Auctioneers handle about $6 billion worth of assets every year. We're the fiduciaries. There's a code out there across U.S. called Uniform Commercial Code.
Right,
and
I'm familiar with it.
that's where-
UCC.
UCC.
You know where that come from, right?
Where'd that come from, Doctor?
Actually, it comes from England.
Okay.
Which is part of what's called the statute of frauds.
Exactly.
Which is started in 1677. A lot of people don't know that. It's the law, but go ahead.
Yeah, that statute of fraud says you have to have things in writing for it to be valid.
That's exactly
Am I right about that?
You're absolutely correct.
I had somebody on the phone call. Now, they called me the other day, and it wasn't quite on the up and up, this phone call wasn't. And the guy asked me some stuff, and he was acting like a real estate broker, but I said, but I figured out he wasn't.
And he didn't know, did he?
And he didn't know. I said, are you familiar with the statute of frauds? He said, click. But I called him back. I said, don't hang up too fast. I said, that means you have to have things in writing for it to be valid.
That's correct.
So, yes, the UCC has some governance over auctioneers.
Right.
So it puts us in a different. Now we subscribe to a code of ethics, just like the real estate agents do. We subscribe to a code of ethics. Auctioneers do as well. Right. So,
yeah, talk to us now about the other
man. I want to tell you
tool you have here with us today.
This is now auctioneers use this tool. Not all auctioneers use one this big. There's a reason I use this big one, but
it looks like a gavel.
This is a gavel. That's exactly what it is. How'd you like the judge to get after you with that?
Exactly.
I mean, he's just an auctioneer. You will see an auctioneer with a gavel at a lot of sales. A lot of them are normal size, but the auctioneers have a lot of judgment that plays into what we do.
Right.
In other words, we go back to the negotiation.
Right.
So we're negotiating, and we got a buyer and we got a seller. And have you ever heard an auctioneer say sold?
Yep, I've heard that.
Well, you heard that tap of the gavel?
Yep.
Well, that that makes the deal.
It's done, isn't it?
The deal's over with. The deal has been made.
Yeah.
I've got a buyer and I've got a seller, and now we have negotiated a contract. And
Wow.
the Uniform Commercial Code has some rules about that contract, but once that auctioneer's gavel hits the table, that's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
It's a done deal.
Yeah, you can't go back then, can you?
You can't go back. Now it's just that's the reason why the auctioneers carry this gavel a lot, is because it's more. It's not just for show.
Right.
Now I have this one for a little bit of show. We down here in Texas, aren't we, Dr. Deal? I got put on this TV show one time. We didn't know what we was doing. I mean, I didn't know. I thought we was going to have this big script and all this other kind of stuff. Well, I asked the producers. I said, what can I have in my auction? They was like, well, whatever you normally have in the auction.
Exactly.
I walked over to my truck and I come back with this gavel and I said, can I use this? And they looked at me. They didn't say nothing for the first few seconds, but they said, heck yeah. So
well, you also know that if there's a statement that's true, everything is big in Texas.
everything is big in Texas.
Whether people want to realize it or not,
Tell you
it's
what.
actually true.
So it's
Yeah.
a staple of my work, and it does signify when I go out to a lot of places, I will take my gavel, I will wear my hat, because I want people to know that I'm an auctioneer. But I
Right.
also, more importantly, want people to know that we're auctioneers are business people.
Right.
We get up to go, and we're here to make money. We're here to use these tools of the trade to make money and earn a living and represent our clients.
You know what else this represents?
Tell us about it.
It's big, and you're going to make big money.
We're gonna make some big money.
You're going to make some big money, and you're going to be happy making that big money.
That's right.
But listen, 5 years from now, where does Myers Jackson want to be in this business 5 years from now and impacting people in the United States of America?
Great question, because I mean, as you start, going back 22 years ago when I
Right.
first got in this business as an auctioneer, you feel your way down the path.
Correct.
I mean, and it's always talking about there's roads that you got to fork out and everything, but I have pretty much made a name for myself
Right.
in the real estate industry. I'm going to continue to do that, but now what we're doing is we're starting to branch out and scale. Okay,
Wow.
Scale, because I don't want just a team here in Texas, but I want a team that's going to operate in Tennessee or Kentucky or Virginia, even all up to New
Wow.
York. So that's what we're working on now, is the scalability,
Right.
because it's easier to do now with what we do on the internet.
Right.
We're doing internet sales. We're doing what we call hybrid auction sales, and we're working with more real estate agents. The more real estate agents learn about what we do, the more that they want to participate with us.
Wow.
Because this is a big difference. And I alluded to this just a little while ago. So if anyone has a real estate agent in place, they can hire me as the auctioneer.
Wow.
And I can work right alongside their real estate agent.
And create a partnership.
We create a partnership. Exactly right. Because the auctioneer may be able to negotiate not only the money
Right.
that's going to be put in the contract, but also the terms that are going to be put in that
Right.
contract. And that's very, very valuable. The terms of that contract is very valuable. So if someone has a real estate agent and they want to talk to an auctioneer, hey, you know what? The thing is to do is to talk to an auctioneer and get a little bit more education about what we do. So going 5 years from now, I would like to, we're going to start training more real estate agents about how to do exactly what we're doing.
Oh, that's great.
I mean, because you know what? There's 1.5 million real estate agents in the United States.
Wow. So would you have a set curriculum and a class that you would train these real estate agents in order to
Exactly.
bring them on?
Exactly. So they're going to come in and they're going to learn the ropes, in other words. And they may not want to be an aspiring auctioneer. They may not want to stand up and talk fast in front of folks. But listen, you don't have to talk fast in front of people anymore to be an auctioneer. I mean, going back 40, 50 years ago, that's the way it was done.
Right.
Now we have cell phones, we have the internet, we got podcasts, we got all kind of tools that's available to us as auctioneers. Our job is to negotiate the highest possible price
Right.
with the best contract terms.
Wow, that's great. And that's interesting because when you do that, it actually as you said earlier, you're working on both sides.
That's exactly right.
You're helping the buyer, you're helping the seller, and then and simultaneously, you can, like you said before, you can see your commission slide up through the roof and touch the ceiling and even touch the sky.
That's right. Well, you got to face the facts. We got to pay the light bill, don't we? We're here to buy some of that
That's right.
$4, $5, $6 gas, and if we're going to do that, we got to get up and go to work in the morning.
Yeah, I don't want to go there today about that gas prices.
That's a whole different story. But you got to go to work. So
That's
as an
true.
auctioneer, you know, we represent the sellers in the situation, but our job is to talk with those buyers because the buyers ultimately is going to be the ones who's paying the price for the item.
That's right.
That's what we're going to do. And whatever tools that auctioneers have to make that happen, well, guess what? We're very innovative. And when I say we, I'm talking about the auctioneering community. I got
In general.
In general. I've got some great friends who have helped me come from wondering what it would be like to be an auctioneer, and I've got some great mentors out there who have helped train me be a better auctioneer.
Wow.
5 years from now, I'm going to be a better auctioneer than I was 5 years ago.
And see, that's good because I would love to see you in, like you said, in Virginia, North Carolina. You're already in Florida and Tennessee. You're already in Tennessee and
That's right.
Ohio, Michigan.
I got the licenses in most of those states. All I need somebody to do is say, hey, come sit down with us.
Right.
Explain how this auction process works. How can it benefit our sale? How can that seller make more money? Or how can that seller realize the true market price?
Right.
In an escalating market like we're in,
Wow.
It's in a frenzy right now.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Okay.
And then kind of a two-part question.
All right.
As an auctioneer related to real estate and land, what is the one state, and I'm just asking, the one can potentially buy the most amount of land in? Is there such a thing? And then after that, give your number so people can contact you.
Okay. Well, I'm going to tell you what. There's some large states out there with land available. Texas just happened to be one of those states where you've got massive. You ever heard of the King Ranch?
Yes,
and
I
the
sure
four,
have.
And the 4.6s and all that.
Yep.
They amassed a crazy amount of land, and there's still land tracts out there that's 3, 4, 5,000, 10,000 acres. But this is the reality.
Right.
Not everybody can afford $10,000 an
That's
acre.
right.
But this is what we're seeing, and this is a trend. And I'd love to help folks do this right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I'm licensed in 15 other states. All you have to do is call me, and I'll be glad to talk about that. But I would really like to help folks sell 100 acres of land.
Wow.
There's people looking for 10, 15, 25 acres of land.
Right.
To sell and buy. So
Wow.
on both ends, I want to give you my local number.
Yeah, give them the number.
You ever heard of that? Hey, you want to talk to the person on the other end of the phone? All they got to do is call that number, 469-460-4848.
469-460-4848.
4848.
Folks, there you have it. Mr. Miles Jackson, auctioneer, real estate, realtor. I mean, an amazing guy. Thank you for being on Wealth Think Tank Television.
Well, this has been an amazing day. Thank you for having me out here.